Aconcagua, the stone sentinel, stands at 22,800 feet above sea level. As the tallest mountain in South America and the Western Hemisphere, it counts itself one of the coveted 7 summits of the world. Located near the border of Argentina and Chile, the mountain resides in a dry alpine desert deep in the Andes range. Despite its remote, desolate location, Aconcagua held a sacred meaning to the ancient Native American civilization of the Incas. This rich history and bleak magnificence make Aconcagua a popular climbing destination to mountaineers all over the world. Typically, climbers who aspire to reach the summit can spend anywhere from 9 to 16 days away from the closest road. While largely a non-technical climb, summer snowstorms and melting glaciers sometimes require the use of crampons and ice axes to ascend. The closest accessible major city is Mendoza, a wine center of South America. Our journey began in Mendoza, where we met our mountain guide Fermin. A veteran of 30 ascents of Aconcagua, Fermin had been working on the mountain for 15 years. Our next destination was Penitentes, a small ski resort that serves as a summertime base for climbers. It was here that we separated through the gear that we would need to have on hand and the gear that we could send up to base camp using mules. The mule drivers, known as arrieros, lighten the loads of climbers while they make the journey to base camp at the foot of the mountain.
All right, this is entry number 1 of the Aconcagua Expedition. It is January 12th at about 9:53 in the morning. We are sitting outside of the Penitentes ski resort in a remote valley of the Andes. And we are a few minutes away from heading up to the Vacas Valley to start our trek. Today we only have about 7 miles or so to go. We should be on the trail for about 4 to 6 hours, something like that. I'm very excited. It's been a long time preparing for this, and I am ready to start walking. There's really not much more we can do now except for walk. So to everyone out there that's listening, thank you very much, and hopefully I'll have some more interesting content for you here coming up in the next few days.
At a starting altitude of 7,661 feet, our walking journey began at the mouth of the Vacas Valley. Myself, my father Mark, and our climbing companion Marty set out on a blistering 3-day, 26-mile hike to our base camp at 13,750 feet.
We've officially started walking up the Vacas Valley, and told you a little bit about the team already. I just want to introduce everybody. This is Fermin, our guide.
Hi guys.
So you can say hi, Fermin. Fermin, tell us something about yourself, Fermin.
I don't know. This is my second home, you know, the mountain. I work here for the last 15 years, and this meaning, I don't know, second home in a few things. Enjoy the mountain is my philosophy.
Enjoy the mountain. I like that. All right. Next up, we got Mark.
Yo, hey, we're excited to be here. I've been preparing a long time, training a long time. Really excited to actually be walking on the trail. Looking forward to a successful summit if the mountain allows it. So very, very excited to be here.
Any words of wisdom?
Pole pole.
Pole pole. I like that. All right, Marty, you're up.
Hey guys, I'm Marty. Happy to be here. Well, it should be. I spent so much damn money getting here. Good group, nice small group, good people, and really looking forward to a great trip.
Awesome. Any words of wisdom? You can't use pole pole.
Can't use pole pole?
No, you can't.
Harder, faster, higher.
The less popular route to the summit, the Vacas Valley takes 3 days to reach Plaza Argentina, the base camp. The first 3 days were hot and dusty walks through the dry, arid landscape that surrounds this area of the Andes. Upon departing, we would not see a road for 14 days.
Wow.
Thankfully, during our first 3 days of travel to base camp, our arrieros took most of the heavy gear we wouldn't need until later on. Our first night in, we feasted on steak, pork, and sausage prepared on an open fire grill by the arrieros in true asado fashion. Our days of eating fresh food were going to be few and far between. As the harsh reality that would be our lives for the next 2 weeks sunk in, a sense of anticipation clung to our spirit. With every step, our destination became ever closer. The end of the second day yielded our first view of the end goal. The far distant peak loomed on the horizon as excitement mixed with terror filled our bodies.
Hello everybody, this is Will, reporting to you from our second camp on the way up to the mountain. It literally looks like we're on the face of Mars right now. Other than that, things are great. Pretty tired.
Sunburn, windburn, muscle fatigue, and malnutrition were beginning to set in. Little did we know, this was only the beginning.
We've reached the top of the Relinchos Valley. Got Fermin over there. We finally have a great view of the mountain over there. It looks very tall. Got the mules. Got the mules heading up, carrying our stuff. This is the last day they'll be helping us. But man, I appreciated their help today.
Yeah, of course.
Marty, what do you think?
Higher, smoother, faster, up, being hit by 5.
I think the mountain seems to be favoring us right now. Let's hope we stay in our good graces, and everyone's climbing well and climbing strong, and just glad to be here.
Yeah.
The following day, after a grueling hike up the beautiful Relinchos Valley, we arrived at base camp at the foot of Aconcagua at 13,750 feet. Turtle speed satellite Wi-Fi, a hot shower, and much needed rest after 26 miles of hiking in the hot desert was welcome. The base camp itself, while less popular than the other side of the mountain, still had a physician on staff and more tents than you could count. From here on out, carry days and subsequent move days up to the higher camps would be necessary in order to transport supplies and to give our bodies the maximum potential to adjust to the lack of oxygen at high altitude. The consequences of not taking precautionary steps to acclimate are dire and may end with a $10,000 helicopter ride back to civilization. The first carry day to Camp 1 was our first day with heavy packs. Steep scree slopes and cold winds brought us to an altitude of 16,500 feet, higher than any mountain in the continental United States. After dropping our supplies off and eating lunch, we headed back down to base camp to rest. After yet another rest day, we made the official move up to Camp 1. As the altitude increased, our breathing became heavier, our steps slower, and our fatigue set in after only a few steps. We started to encounter our first snow flurries as well. The next day, the carry up to Camp 2, Guanacos, while only a 1,500-foot climb up to 18,000 feet, was draining, knowing all the while we had to do it yet again the next day. After our official move up to Camp 2 on day 9 on the mountain, we were rewarded with an incredible view out into the Andes range all around us.
Well, here we are. It is day 9 on the trail. As you can see, we are clearly roughing it with hearty mashed potatoes, steak, soup. Got an amazing view out there. Got our magnificent guide and cook Fermin. Fermin over there, thank you. Thank you very much.
Guys, eat and relax.
Marty, how you feeling right now?
Filet mignon steak, life's a beach.
Things are great. No complaints here.
The next day, we made our load carry up to Camp 3, Caldera, the final camp before our summit attempt. Again, only a 1,700-foot climb took 3 hours as each step became harder and harder. The landscape not only felt ruthless, but also appeared to be the surface of another planet. At 19,700 feet, Camp 3 marked the highest I had ever stood on solid ground up to that point. Our descent back to Camp 2 and subsequent rest day were much needed. Trips like this have a lot of downtime. Rest time is needed to allow your body to acclimate to increasingly hostile conditions. Most of the time you have is spent either reading, journaling, making friends with various other teams making their way up, or drinking mate, a traditional caffeinated tea with the local porters and guides.
Hello everybody. We're here on our 11th day on the trail. Currently we are on our way moving from Camp 2, which is just over that hillside and down, all the way up to the White Rocks campsite, way up there, Camp 3, Colera, which stands at about 19,700 feet above sea level. It's a little bit taller than the summit of Kilimanjaro, which is the tallest place that I've ever stood on solid ground. And starting at about 5 a.m. tomorrow, we're gonna be heading up towards the summit, which you can see way up there.
At 19,700 feet, any sleep is fortunate. The high winds, bitter cold, and lack of oxygen make sleeping especially difficult.
All right, it is 4:54 in the morning. We are currently at about 6,000 meters, or about 19,700 feet. We are a few minutes from departing for our summit attempt. Can't really see me that well right now because I have a light shining in your eyes, but neither can you see the stars. They are also very beautiful. Marty, how you feeling?
Oh, awesome.
Never better?
Never better.
Never better.
Let's go.
Everybody here looks like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, and everybody's feeling good. Dad, anything to say?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting started. Looking forward to having a little light on the subject in a couple hours.
It's good. It's what we like to hear.
Marching up the slopes above high camp was an endless train of headlamps inching their way up one by one. Each step was agonizingly slow, and catching your breath was simply out of the question. The cold slowly seeped into your bones the moment you stopped moving, and the only thing you saw was the feet of the person in front of you. The ascent from high camp to the summit is only a 3,000-foot gain in altitude, but when you are taking 10 steps a minute, the progress is painfully slow. At last, near the final third of our ascent, the sun peeked over the ridge and began to warm us. The final third push is a steep scree field with no defined trail. Normally, much of this section is covered in snow, but our expedition was during a year well below average for snowfall.
We're so close. So close. But I also can't breathe, so there's that.
As a result, we clambered up loose rock for 3 hours.
Hello everybody, this is Will DeVries with the January 10th Aconcagua team. I am happy to report that the entire team has made the summit. We are currently sitting at 22,800 feet above sea level with the most, and 41, Marty corrects me. And we have the most spectacular view around us right now. We are having the best time ever. Everybody's feeling pretty good. The air is pretty thin up here, so we're going to be heading down here relatively soon. But the trip was successful. Everybody's made it to the top, and everybody is doing well.
Julio, do me a favor.
Yeah.
Say go Chiefs!
Go Chiefs!
Let's go!
Our descent back to high camp was nothing other than brutal. Our bodies were so spent that each step down the dangerous scree field had to be taken with the utmost precision to avoid tumbling down the mountain. At last, after a 15-hour day of walking, we reached the high camp. After replenishing our fluids as best we could, Fatigue soon took over and we fell into a forced comatose state. The following morning was the morning I felt the worst. A piercing headache pounded my skull and aches and pains ravaged my body. After packing our bags with all of our supplies, we began the long descent to the base camp on the other side of the mountain, Plaza de Mules. This day was also particularly brutal. Downhill hiking can be equally hard on your body as uphill can, and our bodies were already weakened to start. Nevertheless, we reached the base camp that afternoon on day 13 on the mountain. Hot showers and a clean change of clothes, and a meal that did not have powdered mashed potatoes awaited us. We packed our stinking gear into bags and sent them down with the mules while we made the 17-mile hike out to the road the following day, day 14. And so concluded the trip of a lifetime, filled with beauty, misery, magnificence, and pain. While many of the less savory details of this trip are omitted in the presentation, feel free to reach out to me if you have any particular questions about the trip.